Okay, so here's the deal. I've been an avid My Hero Academia anime watcher almost religiously the last few years now, and recently, ever since Season 5 came out, I decided to get all caught up with the manga just because I couldn't wait any longer. Which, pause right there if you haven't already read the manga. This video will contain very heavy spoilers for the rest of the anime and the remainder of the My Hero Academia story so far, so please be warned, there will be spoilers ahead. So, ever since the war arc ended in My Hero Academia, I've noticed that Bakugo's role in the story has diminished a fair bit, and it got me wondering about what his role in the larger My Hero Academia narrative is at this point. Namely, when he was first introduced, he was this bully, then classmate, and then eventually rival, quote-unquote, to Deku, and his character development in that respect has been pretty amazing so far. It's just that, how do I put this? He's become useless? Let me explain. In the first season of the show, Bakugo still had this giant chip on his shoulder about being the best, and especially better than Deku, but we saw that it wasn't just all talk. Bakugo was actually talented, and his desire to be a hero was sincere, albeit in his own way. But the problem was that because he always thought he was the best, he would get furious when things wouldn't go his way, and he'd have full-on meltdowns if he lost. So this issue was addressed pretty early on in the story during Class 1A's Heroes vs. Villains training arc that pitted Bakugo against Deku for the first time since they both entered UA, and at this point Bakugo was already furious that Deku got into UA in the first place, and that he now apparently had a quirk after a lifetime of being quirkless. However, despite Bakugo's experience and natural ability, his obsession with beating Deku overtook his common sense and cost him the entire battle. Not only did Bakugo and his partner lose, but additionally, even his classmates had noticed and pointed out all the mistakes he made during the battle. That, coupled with seeing Todoroki's power in action, provided Bakugo 3 hits to his ego in one day. These issues, compounding all at once, started to break down the image Bakugo had of himself and would be instrumental for his personal development moving forward. Now, Season 2 was when these problems began to be addressed. In the first arc of the season, the students competed in an Olympic-style event that would be a showcase of their talents and quirks called the UA Sports Festival. Bakugo, after boldly telling the entire world that he would win the event, does. Throughout the entire event, Bakugo shows to have experienced a lot of growth in his mental and physical abilities, from the way he's able to utilize his quirk and win his 1 vs 1 matches, races, or any other physical challenge thrown at him, to the mental development he showcased in cooperating with his other classmates, something that I don't think middle school Bakugo would have ever envisioned he would ever do. So the sports festival really does highlight a lot of Bakugo's and honestly the rest of Class 1A's personal character development, and seriously, I can make an entire video, nay, a whole series on some of my favorite Boku no Hero Academia characters and their arcs. So if you guys want to see me make those videos, then please give this video a like, comment, and subscribe with notifications on. And if you really want to support the channel, and I mean like you just can't contain yourselves, then please consider supporting the channel over on Patreon. Links will be in the description along with the links to the My Hero Academia playlist in case you want to check out those videos. Anyways, back to the video. However, despite the progress Bakugo made during the sports festival, he still had 2 lingering problems. One is his pathological need to be the undisputed victor in everything he does. And the second, and arguably more important problem, is that he's still incapable of recognizing or even talking to Midoriya. Now, at first, this wasn't a problem. It presented the character with a chance to evolve his mindset, and eventually, thanks to his midnight brawl with Deku, led to an exchange where they air out their grievances and finally settle their beef, becoming proper rivals, with Bakugo even swearing to surpass Deku and become an even greater hero than him or All Might. So theoretically, this should mean that Bakugo gets a new character journey to embark on where it shows his improvement and how he plans to achieve his new goals moving forward. However, instead of that, Bakugo's significance in the story goes downhill almost instantaneously after that fight with Deku. Now, initially this happened naturally, quote-unquote, because Bakugo and Todoroki needed to catch up with the rest of the class after they initially failed to get the provisional hero licenses at the end of Season 3. Okay, honestly, when I was first writing the script, it kept accidentally turning into a full-on Bakugo character analysis, which is not the point of this video, but I actually ended up really liking the idea for it, so I'm gonna save some of the notes I cut out and make that just a completely separate video on its own. If you guys want to see that video, then I don't know, let's get this video to 38 likes, and I'll make the Bakugo breakdown video ASAP. Anyway, now back to the video. But here is where we run into the core of the problem. After Bakugo and Todoroki finally do get their licenses, their absence in the story becomes much less justified. This is especially true during and after the Paranormal Liberation War arc. So I would say that the Paranormal Liberation War arc has been the absolute peak for Bakugo's character, and I know that might seem like a hot take, but there are two examples that highlight this for me perfectly. The first is Bakugo accompanying Deku after Shigaraki awakens and goes after One for All, and Deku fleeing so no one else gets endangered, and Bakugo noticing this and choosing to back Deku up by going with him. When asked why, Bakugo tells Deku that it's because he's the only other person who knows about his situation with All Might and One for All, showcasing both his willingness to fight alongside Deku, something he couldn't even imagine doing during their fight with All Might, as well as the new desire he has to protect Deku from fighting Shigaraki alone. The second example comes near the end of the arc when Shigaraki tries to take Deku's quirk for himself, and without thinking, Bakugo jumps in his path and saves him. It's a really powerful, gut-wrenching, heartwarming scene, and I think this represents Bakugo's character journey beautifully as it pertains to his relationship with Deku. However, Bakugo's relationship with Deku was only 50% of his role in the story, and as a character, the other half is the fact that Bakugo still wants to be #1 hero, and despite the strides he's made in going about that, the story seems to completely brush that aside. And at the end of the arc, when all the other characters are in the hospital and Bakugo finally wakes up and goes to check in on Midoriya, this is the last we have seen him since. As I write this, Bakugo has not appeared in the manga for roughly 12 chapters. From the moment the boys had their fight up until the Paranormal Liberation War arc, it was though the characters were living completely different stories. Bakugo had almost nothing to do with some of the major story arcs that have taken place in that same time period. He wasn't in the Overhaul arc, he got 3 episodes in the Remedial Course arc, and nothing in the Gentle Criminal arc. Bro, Deku beat a villain on his way to school, and that took almost as many episodes as Bakugo's spotlight the entire season. And I know some people will make a case for him growing as a character by joining the rest of the class in the musical. Sure, I'll give you that, but let me put it to you this way. In that same time, Deku was out there fighting an entire gang and their overpowered boss and saving this little girl who had been periodically abused her entire life. I'm just saying, come on, let's consider the scales here. For the deuterantorist of the entire series, he's not getting this, like, even half the amount of spotlight that he was originally supposed to get. I'm gonna just say it right here. Season 4 is mid. Don't at me at KreamsYT on Insta and Kreams2 on YouTube. Throughout the entire My Hero Academia story, Bakugo was presented as the foil to Deku. He's even been officially recognized as the future antagonist of the entire series. And yet, especially recently, Bakugo's role in the story has gotten steadily less and less significant. And now, with Deku no longer being at UA and prepping for his fated battle with One for All, it makes me wonder what the point of Bakugo actually is anymore. Hell, dude, how is anyone supposed to be #1 hero when Hero Society basically just fell apart? The last thing I want to end on is this. After seeing the most recent chapter, when Deku tells All Might that he is now able to use 100% of All Might's power, it seems that any notion of the boys being proper rivals has evaporated. It would seem then that Bakugo can no longer feasibly be Deku's rival anymore, and if that's the case, it seems like a drastic shift from what the relationship the boys established for themselves in the previous season was. And if that's the case, then what exactly is the narrative point of Bakugo anymore? Alright guys, thanks for watching. 38 likes, that'll make the full Bakugo character breakdown. Check out the Patreon, like, comment, and subscribe. Bye!